So one of the first things I'd like to show you is how to use the kit and how to get started to make this wonderful quilt called Tropical Breeze. Now this is the bright colorway, but it also comes in this more muted spice colorway as well. The first thing I'd like to do is show you how to do these exciting squares that are done with my hand-painted looking stripe. So you will need a pattern, and the easiest way is to take any kind of paper and make a 12-inch square. Then you're going to fold that into a big triangle and fold it once more. And here we have our pattern. It's perfect. It's going to measure 12 inches on the bottom and 6 inches up at a 90-degree angle. So I'm going to use my paper pattern to mark my acrylic ruler. And I have this wonderful big square acrylic ruler, and I'm just going to line it up on top of my paper pattern. And then I'm going to use the Post-it tape. You can use painter's tape or masking tape, whatever you like. It's self-adhesive. And I'm going to mark my ruler exactly where I want to cut. And then, so there's no question at all, I'm going to make some little arrows that mark my cut line. Right there. It's perfect. So I'm going to open up this Tropical Breeze kit and pull out the wonderful hand-painted stripe fabric that we'll use. And this is the one we'll need. So for this stripe, we're going to need to cut 1.5 yards. And I can see that 1.5 yards is also 54 inches. So I've measured it to here, 1.5 yards, and I've put my acrylic ruler on the selvage edge and lined it up here. And so now I'm ready to cut off 1.5 yards. And a little more. Let's square up with that fold. Make sure we're getting a nice straight line. Voila, 1.5 yards. I'm going to set aside this ½ yard for binding and use it later. And so right now what we're going to work with is our 1.5 yard piece. And to make it easier to cut, I'm going to line it up like this, accordion folding it, with all the selvage edges matched up on one side here. So, and now I have quite a few layers of accordion folded fabric because we want to be cutting these long strips. If you're having trouble getting this folded, you might need to iron it a little to straighten it out. Now the first thing I'm going to do is use my long ruler, and I want to cut off the selvage. You never include the selvage in your quilting. It just shrinks up and causes trouble, so you always want to cut it off. So here we go. We're going to cut off all the selvages. Well, you really have to bear down on this many layers to get that cut. And now I need some 6-inch strips, so I'm going to turn my fabric around. You always want your ruler to be on the left side and your cutter to be on the right side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to line up my ruler on my newly cut edge. I'm going to hold it down. I'm going to cut a 6-inch strip. Here we go. Oops. Okay, here we go. 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, and some extra. And now we want to lay our strips out. We're going to do these in a single layer. So I'm going to lay out strip number 1, and I'm going to carefully put strip number 2 over the top, matching the cut edge like this. And strip number 3. And strip number 4. And then I'm going to carefully work my way down this whole batch of strips, lining them up so that I have a 1.5 yard long batch of 4 long strips. Okay, we're nearing the end of our strips here, and I just want to get these cut edges lined up. You can see there's a tiny bit of that white selvage there, but that'll be okay. And now we want to go back to our square ruler and start cutting. So I've got my 4 strips all nice here. You can see they're all lined up. And I'm going to take my prepared ruler, and the idea is to cut one of these triangles from the bottom of the strip just like that. This is an extra piece you won't be needing. You can set that aside. And then I'm going to pull this apart, and I'm going to turn my ruler over and continue on down the line, matching this cut line with the raw edge. And I'm going to cut 4 more triangles there. I'm going to flip my ruler over and cut 4 more triangles here, like this. And I'm going to continue in this manner down the strip until I have all of my triangles cut like this. And here we are, ready to cut our last triangle. So easy lining up the ruler without having to measure all the time. You just use your pre-markings here. Oh, and that's great. There's a little bit extra, but not much. So we're going to set this part aside. We don't need that. And now, what we have here is 1, 2, 3, 4 identical triangles from the bottom, and 1, 2, 3, 4 identical triangles from the top. And I've made them into little sets here to work with. And now that I have all my triangles cut out, I need to make them into the appropriate sets, and I'll show you how to easily do that. I'm going to work first with these that I cut from the bottom, and I'm just going to lay them out in a row here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to take the top triangle and set it aside. You can see these are identical, and I have my first square. I'm going to continue on with the stack, making identical stacks of triangles until I use up all 4 of these. 2, 3, see how they're different, and 4. Now I have the 4 different looking triangles, and I'll continue doing that with all of the triangles that I have, but I just can't wait to show you how different these will look when I finally put them together. This is our goal, because these are identically cut. We're going to have a wonderful bullseye square made out of each one of these different sets of 4 triangles. And now I'm going to move over to the sewing machine and show you how to put them together. It's really very easy.